Hello, friends. This is Scott, and I have some bad news to report. These two chickens, the white leghorn and the Buff Orpington, who like to sit on top of this wisteria bush, disappeared last night. And it happened to be Halloween. So I've got to figure out what happened to these two birds, because they wouldn't have left. These birds have been here for several years. Happened on a day when the first day I was going to let them out in the yard and just free range, and I let them out, and there were 6 chickens. And I know I have 8, so I start looking around and I see white feathers there, but I didn't think much of it. They molt, so I thought maybe they're in the coop laying eggs. So I was happy to see the chickens out kicking through the bark and looking for worms and enjoying themselves. And they'll have several months out of the coop to be able to take care of the insects and the weeds and the other plants. But I start looking, and there's lots of white feathers. And I hadn't counted the birds at that point. So I start looking, and there's just way too many white feathers. That makes me nervous. And I don't see my leghorn. They're all over the place. Now, the leghorn is the most skittish of the birds. And so it is one that you can't just pet. It's one that will run away. And there was white feathers scattered everywhere. So it looked like a crime scene. This bird had put up a fight. It had run away. It was being chased throughout the coop. And it was a windy day, but the feathers were pretty much all over the place. Now, the Buff Orpington has yellow feathers, and there was no sign of any yellow feathers in the coop. And I saw no blood, and I saw no obvious signs of carnage. There's no bodies or anything else. Now, as I'd walked up to the coop, a neighborhood orange and white cat had jumped the fence, and he was in the coop looking for mice. But an adult cat, I don't believe, can carry a full-size chicken over a fence. So I don't think that cat is the culprit here. After searching the yard, I went on the other side of the fence, which is on a major street, and here I see lots of feathers. So I'm seeing white feathers. And so I know the leghorn is not in good shape if it's still alive. And so I decided I'm going to take a little stroll down the sidewalk for about a block, and I found consistent white feathers throughout my walk. And it's kind of weird. If it was an animal that could carry something over a fence, it had to be like a raccoon. But if it was a raccoon, why would it just stay on the sidewalk? And it would be walking away from a wildlife area that's in my neighborhood about a block away. So it doesn't make sense that if it was a raccoon, it would just walk up the sidewalk carrying a chicken. And again, no signs of the Buff Orpington. Lots of white feathers, though. And again, it was a blustery day, but these feathers were all along the sidewalk, nowhere else on this parking strip. So there was a struggle, and white feathers were continuing all the way up about a block up the street. So, I'm an ex-law enforcement officer, and I'm an ex-bow hunter. I haven't bow hunted for years, but I know how to track animals a little bit. And it's usually a blood trail, but in this case, it was feathers. And here's the first Buff Orpington feather that I saw. So I know that the Buff Orpington was also carried down the same path. Now, if it was a raccoon, no one raccoon is going to carry 2 chickens over the fence and down the street. So either if there was 2 chickens taken on 2 different nights, they would have been taken and probably not walked the same path. So what I'm thinking, Halloween, I think we have some 2-legged varieties that took care of these chickens. And I'm not sure, it's sad to think of humans hopping a fence and hurting chickens, but I think that's probably what happened. So the investigation continues, and I'll see what happens. But I'm down 2 chickens, and I'm pretty upset about it. So we'll see if any other evidence comes. But I probably will never know what happened to these chickens. But my suspicion is that it was the 2-legged variety, and that's what you get for living in the city with some idiotic kids on Halloween, it appears. As it sounds, I'm hoping it was the 2-legged variety because they probably won't be back. If it's a raccoon or raccoons, they will be back. So chickens are locked up tonight. I've blocked both their entrances into their house, so they're safe. I believe they're safe. And we shall see if there's any signs of anything trying to get in the coop, because if it is raccoons, they'll be back for an easy meal. So stay tuned if we have an update. I don't think I'll ever have an update, probably, but if I lose any more chickens, I know it's probably more the animal variety than the human variety, but we shall see.